Hi, my name is Stephen. I thought it'd be useful if I gave everyone a guide to what included dining on board P&O Cruises Ventura is like in preparation for our cruise. Um, I'm going to look at all the things that are included on board. I will mention briefly the restaurants where you pay extra for, but I'm only going to focus on what meals are included in the price of your cruise. I'll try and explain all the different terms and words that people use and try and help out some of that language that we may not understand. It can be quite baffling, and I'll also try and explain to you what you can eat and drink and when and what is included, so you're not having to pay extra for things that you may not necessarily have to do. So firstly, there are two types of dining for your evening meal on P&O. They call it freedom dining and fixed dining. So fixed dining, um, just bear in mind this only refers to your evening meal. It doesn't refer to any of your lunches or breakfasts or any other meals that are on board. So fixed dining is a set table which you have for the duration of your cruise, which you only use in the evening. So there's two meal times of fixed dining. That's 6:30 or 8:30, and the restaurant where it's fixed dining is called the Baytree Restaurant, and that restaurant is waiter service. So you may have a table just for yourselves, or you may have to share a table, but you get allocated that on arrival, and that is your table then for however long you're on the cruise for. Um, if you want to change your table, because you may not always get on with it, some people can be very friendly on cruises. Most people are, but you may find that you're just not gelling with those people. If you find that that is happening, you can always speak to the restaurant manager, and they can see if they can move you to another table, or you may just prefer to just have a table for two. It's always worth on the first date also, if you did just want a table for two or however many is in your group, speak to a restaurant manager quite early on in the cruise and see if they can accommodate that requirement if you like. So yeah, just to reiterate that the restaurant that if you're on fixed dining, the restaurant that you eat in for your evening meals only is called the Baytree Restaurant. So the other type of dining they do is called freedom dining, and the restaurants are usually open between between 6 p.m. and 9:30, and what that means is basically you just show up at a two restaurants and you just request a table. So if you want one night, if you've met some friends, you want to have a table of six of you, you can request a table for that six. Another night you might just fancy a table for two, or maybe eat on your own. You can request for that and they'll accommodate you. Sometimes if you arrived at 7:30, the restaurant might be quite full, so what they normally give you is a pager, and then you can go off and wait for a table for your requirement to become available. So even if you're on freedom dining, it's waiter service, and the two restaurants that you use for freedom dining is the Saffron Restaurant and the Cinnamon Restaurant. And whether you're on freedom dining or fixed dining, the menus at night in all three of those restaurants, so got the Baytree Restaurant, Cinnamon and Saffron, the menus are exactly the same in all three of those restaurants on that specific night, but the menus will change daily. You may see online or sort of in other documents people saying eat in the main dining room. The main dining rooms are the Cinnamon, the Saffron, and the Baytree restaurants. You may also see online some people refer to it as MDR. That's sort of coming, I think, from people going on, especially coming on like American lines. They call it MDR or main dining room. But yeah, if you see online or you read a bit about the main dining rooms or MDR, then on Ventura they are referring to the Cinnamon, Baytree, and Saffron restaurants. However, you may not want your evening meal in your designated restaurant. You may fancy a change of scene, so there is a buffet restaurant on board, where you literally just show up, help yourself to food, you find a table in the buffet restaurant, and you can arrive at any time of day. And then they've also got select dining venues on board, which I'll probably do another video about select dining. The restaurants there where they cook select dining, but what that means is you pay an extra supplement on the price of your cruise on top. So the restaurants there are places called Sindhu, Epicurean, and the Glass House on board Ventura. One thing, if you are going to the Bay Tree, the Cinnamon, or the Saffron restaurants in the evening, then whatever the dress code is on that ship is observed in those restaurants. So on, say, a 2-week cruise, there's normally about 3 celebration nights. And so on celebration nights, you dress, as men have to wear a jacket and ladies wear, their best dresses or, best outfits. And but then all the rest of the time it's sort of smart casual. So, guys can wear a polo shirt or a short sleeve shirt, some sort of trousers or smart jeans, and ladies, I always find it hard to describe what women wear, but it's just the next step down. So the food in the Bay Tree, Cinnamon, and Saffron tends to be very sort of like British cuisine. You will usually see a roast dinner most nights served, or a variation of roast meats with some vegetables. That tends to be the main courses. And they also do steak and chips like you would get in a certain high street pub chain, which gives a W. And they do grilled chicken as well. The menus are laid out as 3 courses. So a lot of people assume, I can only order 3 courses. So a lot of people might just order like 1 starter, a main, and then a dessert. However, what I tend to do is I'd order a starter such as gravlax, then I might order a soup to go with it, or maybe a salad if I don't fancy the soups on options, and then I would order my main course, and then I'll have a dessert. And then if you wanted cheese and biscuits, you can order that as well, or like me, I like to have 2 desserts, so you could always try that as well. So yeah, just you can basically order, because some of the portions can be a bit small, so if you fancy, I don't know, an extra portion of vegetables to go with your meal, you can certainly do that on request. You just ask your waiters, and they're pretty much will accommodate whatever you ask for. If you want, I don't know, like the meat from that plate, and then you wanted the accompaniments from another meal, then they can fix that for you. And in the Bay Tree, the Saffron and Cinnamon, after your meals, they will serve you tea and coffee, and you can also order water throughout. And then any other drinks that you would like, such as wine, that is extra charge on top of what you've got on your cruise. And if you've got a drinks package, you could use your drinks package for that, or if you've got or you can just do what I do. I just tend to buy a bottle. So cruise food isn't just all about what you have for your evening meal, and you've also got plenty of other meals in the day, because you've got to fill out those sea days somehow. So I like to fill out my sea days by eating lots of food. So if we stick with the waiter service restaurants first of all, so breakfast, they normally serve breakfast on board Ventura, on board a couple of restaurants. Usually that is the Saffron and the Bay Tree restaurant. So waiter service. One of the things that people get a bit confused about is, say if you were allocated the Bay Tree restaurant as your evening meal, you think that you can only have all your other meals in the Bay Tree restaurant. That's not the case. If, say, the Saffron restaurant is open for lunch or breakfast or afternoon tea, and you're allocated to Bay Tree, you can go to the Saffron, and it's open seating. You can sit with whoever you want, whenever you want. It works the same way as freedom dining, but you can literally just come in and they'll find a seat for you, and if there is a seat, they'll give you a buzzer. and then you just wait until there is a table ready for you. Breakfast has just one menu that they use for the whole cruise, but there is a selection of hot and cold foods as well. And you can order things like eggs Benedict or smashed avocado, or cereals, pastries, as well as your full English as well. They also do something called the P&O breakfast. One thing that they don't put on the menu are omelettes, which is quite a common thing to have for breakfast, but you can indeed have an omelette and they'll make it to order for you. So you can have like a ham and cheese or mushroom omelette, and they would make that for you. So don't worry if you wanted that; they will accommodate you for that. You can also have cold things as well, such as yogurt, cereals, Danish pastries, and it's all on the menu. In terms of drinks, they serve you tea and coffee throughout your breakfast, and you could also order juices such as orange or cranberry juices or apple juice, and they also serve hot chocolate as well. So there's lots of free drinks included in the price of your breakfast, included within the cruise price that you've paid for breakfast that you can have at the waiter service restaurants. So lunch, this is usually served in the Saffron restaurant, which is waiter service. You get a choice of sort of small plates such as hot sandwiches, to bigger plates such as steak kidney pie, with vegetables, as well as your starters and desserts as well. It's open seating, so you just show up whenever you want, and throughout they will serve you water, and then after your meal they'll serve you tea and coffee. I find that the desserts there are nicer than what they are in the evening in the restaurants. So, and then lastly, just before you leave the sort of the waiter service restaurants, there is sometimes they do an afternoon tea that used to be every day. I think now it's on a selected sea day that they will serve afternoon tea. Usually it's in the Saffron restaurant, and what it is like you get a big sort of cake tower and sandwich. They come around with sandwiches and tea cakes and scones and jam and cream and things like that. So that's waiter service as well. So that's really everything that's included within the cost of your cruise, where you can go for a waiter service meal. So as I said before, just bear in mind that if you're allocated Baytree, you're not fixed for Baytree for all your meals. You can go elsewhere as well, and it's all open seating, so always look out for that. You'll get a magazine in your cabin called The Horizon, and it will give you the restaurant opening times for lunch and dinner and breakfast as well. So yeah, it's always worth looking out for the Horizon magazine that you'll get. As I mentioned before, there is a buffet restaurant. Some people, including friends of mine, assume that if they were on freedom dining, it meant that they're only allowed to eat in the buffet during their cruise. It's not the case. Everyone who goes on P&O's Ventura has the opportunity to sit in a waiter service restaurant, and hopefully I've explained it clearly, the difference between fixed dining and freedom dining as well, to make it easier to know which restaurant you're meant to go to and when. But yeah, the buffet is open almost 24/7, and you don't need to book or anything like that. You just show up and it's just help yourself, whenever you want, and it's hot and cold food as well. They do sort of split it up between sort of meal times, so they'll do like a continental breakfast, then they do a full breakfast up until about 11, then they get ready for lunch, and they do lunch to about 3, then they do afternoon snacks, and then they do evening meals in there as well, and then they do late night snacks as well. If you've been on other cruise lines, or you've been to, say, a hotel buffet, you might find the buffet on P&O's Ventura a bit small and a bit lacking on choice. The food there is okay. It's just not the biggest selection, and it's the food serving areas are quite cramped as well. So just be careful on that. So the buffet, so there are really two sort of buffets that are called the Waterside buffet, and then they've also got the Beach House buffet as well, which turns into a select dining. The Beach House turns into a select dining venue at night where you pay extra for. But they are literally. I've just got a little brochure here. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, the buffets are served here and there. So yeah, as I said, the food serving areas are quite small and everything's repeated as well. So there isn't a very good choice, but just look out for the seating. So if and they seem to close some of the serving areas off every now and then. So if like the serving areas closed, you can still use the seats in the other parts of the buffet, but it's literally split into three sections. So you've got part of the waterside on the starboard side and the port side, and then the beach house is located at the back of the ship. But you can pick up safe food at the waterside and take it into the beach house to eat. For breakfast, there is a limited selection of full English. Of hot food. You can get pastries, and they do pre-made omelettes nowadays. Yogurt, cereals. You won't find things like bagels, smoked salmon and cream cheese, French toast, or waffles and things like you would find on other ships. So yeah, it can be a bit limited in that respects. Silly things like mushrooms and hash browns are like the occasional special rather than always available, which I find quite funny. And yeah, you just and they also have juices up until 11 a.m. in the buffet. So the juices available are orange, apple, and I think pineapple is the other one as well. And there's also water available. There's a really good selection of teas in the buffet as well. So even things like chamomile tea, as well as like morning breakfast teas. And again, you just help yourself. You can make yourself a cup of tea, and then they also do decaf and regular filtered coffee in the buffet, and teas and coffees and water are available 24/7 from the buffet. So yeah, if you fancy just helping yourself to drink throughout the day, just head up to the buffet and you can get tea, coffee or water all through the day for that. So lunch, there is a small selection of salads and cold meats and fish. They usually have a soup available, and then about 4 different hot dishes. And there's always a roast dinner, and there's always chips available as well. So my big criticism is lack of vegetables. Say if you're ordering a roast, you'll normally only get like 1 vegetable to go with it. So yeah, if I had to criticise, also if you've got dietary needs as well, so like you could be celiac, they have a separate dietary area, so you can pick up like your gluten-free breads and desserts and things like that in there. So they do arrange, and just for everyone in general, they do a range of cold desserts, and there's always a hot pudding with custard as well. And then from about 3 o'clock onwards, they sort of changed the area again, and they serve afternoon snacks. So this includes things like sandwiches and toasties, and then you also and cakes. You also get your scones with jam and this sort of fake looking cream. I'm not quite too sure what it's made of, but I doubt it's seen a cow any time recently. He says you can't get clotted cream in the buffet. There are some hot dishes that are left over from lunch as well. So, if you've been ashore for the day and you want a late lunch, you can normally have a curry or something like that. So, yeah, it's worth looking out for that. And they normally have the salads and things. And then around 5 p.m. in the buffet, they serve a kids' tea. So, that's more the sort of food that children like to have. I think they do ice cream in there as well, and, squashes and things like that for kids. So if you've got kids, usually between 5 and 6 is children's buffet. And then in the after about 6ish, they do the buffet serves a variety of hot and cold dishes. It's a bit more of a extension of what they do at night. The choice is okay. Sometimes they do a themed buffet, like they might do an Indian buffet one day, but otherwise it's they do a variety of hot and cold things. They won't do things like cook to order steaks or anything like that in the buffet. It's all sort of pre-done. So yeah, and then if you're still hungry after all that food, you can after from about 10:30 onwards, I think it is. They do late night snacks. It's mainly leftovers from the day. So we bring all the other food. So there'd be lots of cakes. They do sandwiches. You can get things like kebab meat, chips, stuff like that. So the sort of things you would have if you had a heavy night out. You just get the midnight munchies. So you won't see like an elaborate midnight buffet like they used to in the old days of cruising. That's for sure. And then with the late night snacks, it's the only time you will see Horlicks and hot chocolate available in the buffet as well. So that's quite nice to do that. There are a couple of other options that you can have for your which are included food options. So around the Laguna pool, which is, if you have a look at your plan, it's just there. There is a grill which does burgers and hot dogs and chicken, and I think they do have vegetarian options as well. And then there's also a pizzeria which tend to change daily. You can sort of get a slice and just help yourself. It's all included, as I said, as we're already talking about included food for this video. Within your cabin, you can also get complimentary continental breakfast delivered to your cabin as part of room service. There's normally a card that you can leave outside your cabin, and so yeah, it's things like cereals, pastries, yogurts. I think you can order juices as well to be delivered to your cabin, and that's included in the price of your cruise. However, later on in the day, you have to pay for certain dishes from room service. And within your cabin also you get a kettle, so you can have, and they supply you with tea and coffee as well. And they also, the water from the tap in your bathroom is drinkable water. It's the same water they serve you all throughout the ship. So yeah, you can, and you get glasses as well as mugs in your cabin, so you can, have drinks in your cabin as well. And one extra thing is that if you are in a suite, you're entitled to eat in one of the select dining venues on board called the Epicurean, and you can have, they serve breakfast in there. It's a bit of a different menu to what you can get in any other venues. I've not eaten there myself, as I've not stayed in a suite on P&O before, but I hear good reports about the breakfast there, and again, it's waiter service for you, and yes, it is different. So as I mentioned before, you can get tea, coffee and water 24/7 from the buffet, and within your cabin as well. And as I said, yeah, the water in your cabin is drinkable. So I hope that helps with knowing what you can eat and drink, included in the price of the cruise that you've paid up front for your holiday. I have a little and finally moment. Everyone always asks, how do I get to the Bay Tree restaurant? I know it's on deck 6, but I can't ever seem to find it. I might be in the Exchange pub, and I know the Bay Tree restaurant is on deck 6, but there's just no way to get to it. So here is my tip. So what you need to do is go up to deck 7 and walk along to the very back of the ship to the lifts which are located by the Havana bar. There is a staircase and a bank of lifts there, and that is the only way that you can get to the Bay Tree restaurant. Obviously, if your cabin or the buff, or if you're going from 17, not 17, deck 17, where the Epicurean is, or any of the bars up in that area, if you're using the back lifts, it's only the back lifts and the back staircase that will take you to the Bay Tree restaurant. And it is so the Bay Tree restaurant is located there at the back of the ship. Now, the reason why you can't get to the Bay Tree restaurant from deck 6 is because you've got the Saffron restaurant located there, and then you've got this big space there. Well, that big space there is the kitchens. So that's where all your food is coming from. So that's the reason why you can't just walk straight through, because the kitchens serve the Saffron restaurant and the Bay Tree, so that's why you have to go up to go down, and that's the same on Azura and on Britannia and many Princess Cruises ships as well. It's just literally the logistics of how do you serve several thousand people from one. So I hope this video you found it useful. If you want to sort of correct me on anything, feel free to write in the comments section if you want to add anything or give further tips that will help others. And thank you for your time today.